So Warner Brothers decided they would call the police on a specific JD supporter, hoping that this person, they would be jailed or maybe even worse. You never know what could go on with that kind of stuff these days. And this move, it boggles the mind. Now, the reason that Warner Brothers would want this person jailed or at least confronted and accosted by the police is simple. They're bringing information into the real world that Warner Brothers, they don't like people seeing. This stuff, it shows you how the public tide is turning, how Warner Brothers, they're feeling the pressure of it, with Warner Brothers themselves wanting to shut down their own employees, not allowing them to participate or interact with this in any way. Why? Because so many of them actually support JD. They support the moves that are going on, and they know what's happening with that nameless person. Fun times, huh? Oh, fun times indeed. Oh, man. So, hey there to all you fine folks on this fine day, by the way. I hope you are doing excellently. If you would, share this video everywhere. Everyone deserves to know what's going on. Also, make sure you feed that pesky algorithm likes, comments. It loves attention. If you're subbed, make sure you're still subbed. And if you haven't, well, you don't have to, but man, those shiny buttons. So, the person that Warner Brothers decided to target this way, again, by calling the police on them, is Unbox PhD. You can see their Twitter here. They also have a video that explains everything very thoroughly. Check that out. But you can see this picture right here. Them holding a sign. You can see this Warner Brothers sign behind them. Basically, they're boycotting. And you know what? They have the right to do that. But Warner, they can't stand that idea at all. That's why, in my opinion, you get articles like this and much, much worse from the mainstream media. You know, the same media that out and out refuses to cover anything JD-centric, no body cam footage coverage, charitable donations. Oh, that's got to be sugar-coated. And look at the way that they frame this, absolving Warner Brothers pretty much from any type of blame. Justice for JD campaigner questioned by the police, but allowed to take pics with sign outside of Warner Brothers studio. Now, according to the source that initially reported on this, Warner Brothers, they didn't stop there. Oh no, not by a long shot. They wanted to apply more pressure. They figured they could too, and the way that they did that, they aimed at their own employees. Now, in the aftermath of coverage, part of this statement was redacted, but listen to how this was reported at first. Quote, upon the YouTuber placing the sign on Warner Brothers' lot, police questioned him and later allowed him to continue to display the sign. Initially, Warner Brothers staff were asked to not take pictures of the banner, but the restriction was later redacted by the Watford Observer. Now, as far as locking down staff is concerned, this is something that we've seen before from Warner Brothers. This was purported by Pop Topic talking about Fantastic Beasts 3. They were discussing an insider. I've also heard other things like this from sources myself, where, according to their insider, the entire cast and crew, they had to sign a non-disclosure agreement which stipulated they were not allowed to discuss JD to media or at any press events. Lockdown, and then some. Now, one thing that all of these articles, they decide to ignore, and the reason they ignore this, by the way, is because it's a precarious situation. They want to, again, get Warner Brothers off the hook. And when you see these intimidation tactics like this, because again, you're carrying a sign, you're making known what you think about a situation. Yeah, what a monster, right? What a monster indeed. So, watched by men in shirt and trousers for over 2 hours. So you have these folks, they start watching over 2 hours. They know what you're doing, by the way. You're not doing anything crazy, anything illegal. You're allowed to boycott. Then it escalates, at least imagery, right? Because it's supposed to intimidate. Approached and questioned by Warner Brothers security. You can see the people, they're marked here. You know exactly who they are because, again, they're supposed to intimidate you. Then you have the police themselves. That's going to amp up the intimidation. They arrive. They put in their 2 cents because these folks here and Warner Brothers, they've decided to say you can't be there. But then the men in shirt and trousers, they remove normal security. They take over a watch. They're telling you, we see you. We know what you're doing because, again, they know how damaging information is, and they don't want anyone at all being on the side of JD. Now, there's a few reasons they would want to downplay this, too. You have one mentioned by Unbox PhD, and fascinatingly enough, you have some media outlets trying to downplay that, too. Here's what they have to say, and I'm going to show you how they try to downplay that, basically, again, coming to Warner Brothers' defense. According to the YouTuber, who has amassed close to 13,000 subscribers, he spoke to WB employees on the lot, some of whom were on JD's side. You notice that wording there, some of whom. You know, when you think about that, maybe that's one, maybe that's three. Who knows how many that is, but that doesn't sound like a lot, right? Now, the reason that's so deceptive is this. They transpose their information from one article to another. This is the original article they're quoting back to. This is the portion that they decided to ignore parts of. Look at how this is framed. And you tell me, when you read this, does this give you a different type of mindset about what's being said? So according to the YouTuber, many people were quote-unquote already fixed on whether they were in favor of JD or a certain nameless person. He added, however, the majority of people I asked were in favor of JD. This included a few WB employees, including one who said he was working on Aquaman with that certain nameless person. You look at that, and you look at that other article there. Yeah, you can see how that other article, it's meant to be deceptive. I hate that about the mainstream media, but that's who they are. That's who they are, and they are proud of it. Now, this incident, as far as the video goes, you could see why Warner Brothers, they don't like this. Why? Because it's very, very effective. You have pictures floating around of a nice manicured lawn. You have this clean, concise Warner Brothers Studios wall. You can see the imagery and on. And then you have this sign here. The sign, you could read this thing from space, by the way. You have one side, you have employed with that certain nameless person. You have the other person that's been fired. And you have a lot of conversation that certain nameless person had. And it's very telling on who they are, but hey, we know who Warner stood with. More importantly, though, we know exactly what Warner Brothers would have to lose if, say, one person at each theater showing an Aquaman 2, they were to show up with a sign like that. Imagine what kind of revenue that could potentially cost. Same thing could happen with a Fantastic Beasts 3. This person, they were fired. That person over there, they were kept. This is the stuff you're not being told by a puppet media that accepts advertisement dollars. Do you really want to support that? Imagine how many people that could potentially turn away. The same thing goes for what we saw here. Imagine, though, it's not one person. Imagine it's a dozen people, 50 people, 100 people actively boycotting outside of Warner Brothers. That would be picked up by the media. That would be picked up by YouTubers and on. And the noise there, waking people up to what went on, yeah, that wouldn't ever go away. You're talking about billions of dollars, too. So, of course, they would involve the police. Of course, they would want to intimidate and on. Oh, man. Interesting watching this stuff play out, isn't it?